The Galactic Concord believed in numbers. Everything could be measured. Everything could be predicted. Every species had a place, assigned by logic, math, and cold probability. That belief had ruled the galaxy for over 10,000 cycles. And then, humans arrived. The first human ship appeared at the edge of Concord space without warning. It was small, ugly, asymmetrical. Its hull looked patched together, like a machine repaired too many times and never fully finished. High strategist Kael'var of the Virexi Collective stared at the projection in silence. His 4 golden eyes scanned the data flowing across the chamber. Energy output is inconsistent, one of his analysts reported. No harmonic balance, said another. Design logic, primitive. Kael'var's mandibles clicked in mild amusement. A pre-unified species, he concluded. Barely interstellar. Likely desperate. The Concord Council chamber echoed with soft approval tones from dozens of alien delegates. The ZYR Dominion, masters of quantum warfare, showed polite disinterest. The Oralese think minds ran probability trees and dismissed the anomaly within seconds. The Karn hegemony, a warrior race, laughed openly. A scrap vessel? The Karn warlord rumbled. That thing would not survive our training fields. The humans sent a message. Not a data burst. Not a compressed logic packet. A spoken transmission. Sound waves. Words. Emotion. The translators struggled, then stabilized. This is the exploration vessel Odyssey. We come in peace. We seek dialogue, cooperation, and shared knowledge. There was a pause. Then laughter, actual laughter, rippled through the chamber. Peace, scoffed a ZYR delegate. From a species that still uses chemical propulsion? Kael'var raised a limb for silence. Respond. Minimal courtesy. The reply was brief and cold. Your request for dialogue has been noted. You will be assigned an observation zone. Do not deviate. Do not expand. Do not interfere. The human captain's face appeared on the projection. Soft features, tired eyes, a calm expression that did not match the situation. Understood, she said. For now. That last part did not register as a threat. It should have. Within one standard cycle, the humans did something illogical. They learned. Not slowly. Not carefully. They absorbed information. Human ships, still crewed by Concord standards, began appearing near trade lanes. They asked questions. They watched. They listened. They traded, creatively. They offered art, music, stories, things the Concord had classified as non-essential cultural noise. But the younger species loved it. Human stories spread faster than their ships. Tales of impossible survival. Of wars won against overwhelming odds. Of creativity born from desperation. The Oralese think minds flagged the phenomenon. Human influence spreading beyond expected cultural vectors. Probability of long-term relevance? The council asked. The think minds calculated. Negligible. That was mistake number 1. Mistake number 2 came with the Tarnus incident. A fringe system. Minor value. Rich in hydrogen clouds. The ZYR Dominion claimed it by legal logic. Perfectly valid, perfectly cruel. The humans were already there. Mining. Settling. Building fragile habitats in the gas shadows. ZYR logic demanded efficiency. The ZYR fleet arrived without warning and disabled the human stations with precise energy pulses. No loss of life, by ZYR definition. Oxygen loss was considered environmental consequence. The Concord watched. The humans responded. Not with fleets. Not with demands. They sent one message. You harmed our people. We will adapt. The ZYR laughed. Then human engineers did something no logic model predicted. They turned the hydrogen clouds into weapons. Using imperfect reactors, unstable fields, and brute force calculations, the humans triggered controlled chain reactions. Localized, chaotic, beautiful. ZYR ships, designed for clean battlefields and predictable energy flows, began to fail. Shields overloaded. Sensors went blind. Perfect logic drowned in chaos. A ZYR commander screamed over open channels. This environment is impossible. Their methods violate all combat models. A human voice replied calmly. Yeah, we know. 3 ZYR ships were lost. Not destroyed, disabled, drifting helplessly. The humans did not finish them. They rescued the ZYR crews. That confused the galaxy even more. Emergency session. The Concord Council was no longer amused. These humans are inconsistent, Kael'var said. They show restraint and aggression. Inferiority and brilliance. The Karn warlord leaned forward. Then let us test them properly. A border war was approved. Limited. Controlled. Logical. The humans were not informed. On a blue-green world called Haven 3, human soldiers looked up as alien warships darkened the sky. They were outnumbered, outgunned, outmatched on paper. General Elena Ward stood among them, rain soaking her coat, fire reflected in her eyes. "Remember this," she said quietly. "They think we can't win because we shouldn't." She smiled. "Let's prove them wrong." Above the planet, alien commanders prepared for an easy victory. Across the galaxy, probability engines predicted human defeat. None of them accounted for one thing. When logic failed, human ingenuity had only just begun. The first shots of the border war were fired in silence. No dramatic declarations. No heroic speeches broadcast across the stars. Just numbers, cold, perfect numbers, flowing through alien command cores as fleets moved into human space. The Galactic Concord called it Correction Action 19A. To humans it became known as the day the sky learned fear. Above Haven 3 the alien fleet formed with flawless precision. ZYR cruisers aligned in geometric patterns. Karn assault carriers waited like restrained beasts. Orelise observation vessels hovered far behind, already calculating outcomes. Probability engines agreed on one result. Human defeat, 97.6%. Commence suppression, ordered ZYR fleet mine Threxel. Energy lances descended from orbit, clean, focused, mathematically perfect. Human defense grids failed in seconds. Cities burned. And yet, the planet did not surrender. General Elena Ward stood inside a half-ruined command bunker. Dust fell from the ceiling with every orbital strike. Around her, officers shouted data she barely listened to. She was watching something else. Patterns. "They're repeating," she said calmly. Her staff paused. "They're firing cycles," she continued. "Perfect intervals. Perfect angles." A young analyst stared at the screen. "Ma'am, that's their doctrine. Maximum efficiency." Ward nodded. "Then they're predictable." She tapped her communicator. "Phase mosaic. Execute." Across Haven, 3 human forces did something the aliens could not understand. They stopped trying to defend everything. Instead they moved. Cities were abandoned mid-fight. Power grids were shut down deliberately. Human ships powered off their main drives and drifted like debris. To the Concorde this looked like collapse. The Karn warlord laughed openly on the command channel. "They flee. Release the hunters." Karn strike ships plunged into the atmosphere, weapons hot. That was when the ground exploded. Human engineers had buried unstable reactors beneath empty cities, devices that violated half the safety laws of known physics. Not bombs. Not mines. Traps. The reactors overloaded when exposed to Karn sensor scans, detonating in bursts of raw electromagnetic chaos. Karn ships fell from the sky like burning meteors. Confusion rippled through the alien fleet. "This is illogical," Threxel demanded. "They sacrifice entire population centers." An Orelise observer replied slowly, its voice uneasy. "They evacuated them first." Silence followed. In orbit, human ships came back to life. Not in formation. Not in patterns. They attacked individually, unpredictably, some ramming, some firing modified mining lasers, others releasing clouds of debris that confused alien targeting systems. Human pilots fought like improvising artists, not soldiers. A ZYR tactical node reported rising errors. Enemy behavior deviates from all known models. "Recalculate," Threxel snapped. The node recalculated. Then recalculated again. Then shut itself down to prevent logical collapse. On the Concorde flagship, High Strategist Kaelvar watched the battle feed in growing horror. "They are learning," he whispered. Every engagement made humans faster, smarter, deadlier. Human ships adjusted weapon frequencies mid-fight. Human soldiers hacked alien drones using captured fragments. Human medics turned battlefield failures into advantages, using alien tech in ways its creators never imagined. A ZYR commander screamed over open channels. "They are using our own shields against us." Indeed, humans had discovered ZYR shields could be overloaded by asymmetric energy pulses, something ZYR logic had dismissed as inefficient and therefore impossible. Efficiency, humans realized, was not always the goal. Winning was. The Karn finally deployed their elites. Massive armored warriors dropped onto Haven 3, crushing human resistance with brute force. For a moment, it seemed the tide turned. Then the humans changed tactics again. They retreated into urban ruins. Narrow spaces. Collapsed tunnels. Karn's strength became useless. Human soldiers fought with traps, ambushes, and brutal creativity. One Karn elite, bleeding dark ichor, transmitted a final message before dying. These humans, they do not fight wars. They survive them. By the third day, the probability engines were silent. They could no longer produce answers. On Haven 3's surface, General Ward stood beside a captured ZWR officer. The alien trembled, not from fear but confusion. "You were not supposed to win," the ZWR said. Ward looked at the burning sky. "We weren't supposed to exist either," she replied. She leaned closer. "So we stopped listening to supposed to." The Concord called for a ceasefire. The humans refused. Not with words, but with action. Human fleets began striking outside the war zone. Supply depots, data relays, political hubs. They did not conquer. They exposed. Secret treaties, hidden hierarchies, exploited client species. The galaxy watched as humans leaked everything. Truth became a weapon. Allies began to question the Concord. Client species revolted. The war was no longer small. It was no longer controlled. And for the first time in 10,000 cycles, the Galactic Concord felt something new. Fear. High Strategist Kael'var addressed the council, his voice heavy. "We underestimated them," he said. "They do not obey logic. Or at least think minds spoke in unison. Correction. They obey a different logic." "What logic is that?" asked the Karn warlord, wounded pride burning in his voice. Kael'var's eyes dimmed. "Adaptation." Far away in a quiet command room aboard a battered human ship, General Ward watched the stars. "We're in deeper than planned," an officer said. Ward smiled slightly. "Good," she replied. "So are they." Outside the viewport, human ships jumped to hyperspace, toward the heart of the galaxy. The war had broken the models. And now, humanity was coming. The galaxy had always believed itself invincible. Empires rose and fell, yes, but the system endured. The Concord, the treaties, the clean lines of power and order. Humans shattered that illusion in less than one cycle. The first human strike beyond the war zone hit relay node Theta 9. It was not a military target. It was worse. Theta 9 controlled information flow for 12 sectors. Trade permissions, navigation updates, diplomatic messaging, quiet censorship. The Concord had never imagined anyone would attack it. Human ships arrived without warning. Small task groups, mismatched hulls, wildly different drive signatures. They did not engage the defenses directly. They talked. Human hackers injected logic loops into Concord systems, exploiting something no alien AI had ever prepared for. Contradiction. The Concord systems were perfect, which meant they could not handle imperfection. Within minutes, Theta 9 began broadcasting everything it had ever hidden. Illegal resource siphoning. Forced protection treaties. Species quietly erased from records. Across the galaxy, billions watched the truth unfold. Riots began before the Concord even understood what was happening. High Strategist Kael'var stood in the council chamber as delegates shouted accusations. "You lied to us. We were never equals. You used us as buffers." Kael'var raised his limbs, struggling to maintain control. "This chaos proves why the Concord must exist," he declared. "Order." A transmission cut him off. A human face appeared above the chamber. General Elena Ward. "We agree," she said calmly. "Order matters." The chamber went silent. "We just disagree on who it should serve." The transmission ended. And then human fleets struck again. This time they hit a Karnforge world. A planet built entirely for war. Its surface was steel and fire, its skies choked with smoke from constant production. The Karn had never lost a homeworld battle. Never. Human commanders knew they could not win by force. So they didn't try. Instead, they targeted logistics, power harmonics, industrial rhythms. Human saboteurs, some trained soldiers, some civilian engineers, landed quietly and changed tiny things. A timing delay here. A temperature variance there. A rewritten safety limit. The forge world did not explode. It stalled. Machines jammed. Assembly lines failed. Reactors shut down to prevent catastrophic overload. The Karn war machine ground to a halt. For the first time in their history, Karn warriors stood idle. Humiliated. Enraged. The Karn warlord roared across open channels. "Humans, face us in honorable combat." A human response came back, light and almost amused. "You built a system that only works one way," the voice said. "We're just using the other ways." Meanwhile, the Orelise think minds were panicking. Their predictive networks, once flawless, were producing nonsense. Human behavior diverged too quickly. Their decisions were emotional, irrational, and devastatingly effective. An Orelise node spoke to Kael'var in private. "We believe humans possess a unique trait." "Name it," Kael'var demanded. "They are willing to fail." Kael'var did not understand. "They do not seek optimal outcomes," the think mind continued. "They seek survivable ones. Failure is data. Loss is information." Kael'var felt something tighten in his chest. "That is dangerous." "Yes," the think mind replied. "To everyone else." Then came the moment that changed everything. The Elder Vault awakened. Hidden beneath the galactic core, the vault was older than the Concord itself. A relic left by a vanished civilization, the first architects. It was said the vault observed the galaxy, intervening only if existence itself was threatened. The humans had triggered it. Not by violence, by disruption. The vault spoke for the first time in millennia, its voice echoing across every known channel. Anomaly detected. Panic spread instantly. The architects had erased entire species for less. Classify human. The vault paused. Then. Logic inconsistent. Behavior non-deterministic. Threat level, undefined. Kael'var whispered, "It cannot measure them." The vault continued. Recommendation, observe. That alone was unprecedented. On a distant human command ship, scientists stared at the transmission in shock. General Ward listened carefully. "They're watching us now," an officer said nervously. Ward nodded. "Good," she replied. "Then let them learn." The Concorde tried one last move. A united fleet. Every major power. A final show of overwhelming force. They gathered near the core, a wall of ships so vast it bent sensor readings. Human scouts reported the numbers. "Impossible odds," someone muttered. Ward looked at the tactical display. Then she smiled. "Perfect," she said. The humans jumped, not toward the fleet, but past it, straight into Concorde core space. Alien commanders froze. "They bypassed us. They're heading for the capital. That sector has no defenses." Human fleets did not attack immediately. They broadcast. "To everyone. We could destroy your heart," Ward said. "But that's not why we came." She paused. "We came to prove something." The screen filled with images of liberated worlds. Freed species. Rebuilt cities. "We are not here to replace you," Ward continued. "We're here to change the rules." The Concorde's perfect order was bleeding, and the galaxy was beginning to understand. Humans were not conquerors. They were disruptors. And once disrupted, nothing ever went back to the way it was. If order failed, if logic broke, if the system itself was threatened, then the failsafe would be used. It had never been activated before. Not once in 10,000 cycles. Until humans. Deep beneath the Concorde capital, beyond layers of space-time locks and reality anchors, the council gathered in silence. High strategist Kael'var stood alone at the center. "The galaxy is unraveling," he said. "Client species rebel. Trade collapses. The Elder Vault observes us with uncertainty." His voice hardened. "We must restore inevitability." The council did not vote. They did not argue. They authorized Project Final Equation. Across human space something felt wrong. Navigation glitches. Star maps subtly shifting. Quantum beacons blinking out then back on. Human analysts noticed first, not machines. "This isn't random," said Dr. Mara Ilias, chief systems architect. "It's clean. Too clean." General Elena Ward listened carefully. "Meaning?" "Meaning someone is editing reality," Ilias replied. Then the stars went dark. Without warning, hyperspace collapsed. Across dozens of systems, human fleets were ripped out of faster-than-light travel and thrown into normal space, scattered, isolated, blind. Entire task forces vanished from sensors. On Haven 3, the sky fractured into impossible colors as orbital defenses shut down all at once. Panic spread. The Concorde had activated the final equation. The equation was not a weapon. It was worse. It rewrote causality within a controlled region of space, enforcing absolute predictability. Every action had a calculated response. Every deviation was corrected instantly. No randomness. No chaos. No improvisation. The universe itself became a machine. Alien fleets moved flawlessly through the frozen order, dismantling human positions with terrifying ease. Human weapons misfired, not by chance but by certainty. Human tactics failed, not because they were wrong but because they were anticipated before execution. Probability engines, once broken, now worked perfectly. The Concorde watched as human forces collapsed. "This is the end," the Karn warlord said softly. "They cannot fight reality itself." Human casualties mounted. Ships were boarded. Colonies fell. Communications died. On a shattered moon, a human captain sent a final message before capture. "We adapted to enemies." Static. Not to gods. General Ward's flagship drifted powerless near a dead star. Around her, officers waited for orders that never came. For the first time since the war began. Ward was silent. Then Dr. Ilias laughed. A quiet laugh. Almost relieved. Ward turned sharply. "This isn't funny." "I know," Ilias said. "That's why it works." She pulled up an old file, classified beyond war clearance. "General," she continued, "do you remember why humans never trusted perfect systems?" Ward's eyes narrowed. "History," she said slowly. "Exactly. Decades before first contact, humanity had faced its own final equations. Economic models that promised eternal growth, and collapsed. Military doctrines that predicted total victory, and failed. Artificial intelligences that optimized everything, and destroyed trust. Humans had learned something painful. Perfect logic always breaks. Because it cannot understand people. The Concorde believed it had trapped humanity inside predictability. What it didn't know was that humans had planned for this exact scenario. Years ago. Before first contact. Before the war. Before the galaxy even knew their name. Deep in isolated systems, far beyond Concorde mapping, dormant human projects awakened. They were not fleets. They were not weapons. They were ideas. Self-evolving command cells. Human-led, not machine-run. Built to operate without faster-than-light travel. Without central command. Without predictability. The Concorde could not see them. Because they did not follow logic. They followed intent. Within the final equation zone, something impossible happened. Human ships began making wrong choices. They wasted energy. They split forces unnecessarily. They retreated when victory was possible. Concorde systems flagged errors. Human behavior degrading. Efficiency dropping. Combat value approaching zero. The Council relaxed. That was mistake number 3. Those errors were signals. Human crews used inefficient maneuvers to encode messages into radiation noise. They communicated through patterns the equation dismissed as meaningless. But humans understood them. Fallback confirmed. Stage 2 alive. Let them think we're broken. Then a Concorde cruiser exploded. No attack detected. No cause found. Then another. And another. Not within the equation's predicted timelines. Not following any model. The universe stuttered. The final equation hesitated. For the first time since activation. It could not explain something. The Elder Vault spoke again. This time its voice carried something new. Concern. Observation update. Human strategy, metalogical. Final equation stability, degrading. Kael'var stared at the data in disbelief. "That's impossible," he whispered. "Nothing exists outside the equation." Somewhere in the void, General Ward smiled. "We do," she said quietly. The Concorde had built a perfect trap. They had just forgotten one thing. Humans had survived imperfect worlds their entire history. And when you trap chaos, it doesn't disappear. It adapts. And then it breaks the cage. The Concorde believed victory was already written. Human fleets were shattered. Their worlds isolated. Their communications reduced to static and desperate silence. From the outside, it looked like extinction unfolding with mathematical grace. Inside the storm, humanity was calm. General Elena Ward stood in a dark command room aboard a ship that no longer officially existed. Its transponder was dead. Its engines ran on jury-rigged power curves no Concorde sensor could categorize. Around her, officers worked quietly, no shouting, no panic. "This is the moment," Ward said. "Execute Atlas Protocol." No applause followed. Just action. The Atlas Protocol was never meant to win a war. It was meant to end inevitability. Human strategists had asked a question long before first contact. What if the universe itself turns against us? Every other species assumed such a scenario was impossible. Humans assumed it was inevitable. So they prepared. Across dozens of isolated systems, dormant human enclaves activated. Each operated independently, guided by human judgment instead of central command or AI optimization. They shared 3 rules. No perfect solutions. No single point of failure. Every loss must create advantage. These enclaves began to move, not as fleets but as swarms of intent. They targeted the final equation itself. The equation required anchors, massive spacetime stabilizers hidden in subspace, maintaining predictable causality across entire sectors. The Concord believed them invulnerable, because attacking them made no logical sense. They were not military targets. They produced no immediate tactical advantage. So humans attacked them. Human teams did not fight the anchors directly. They sabotaged maintenance cycles, introduced human-made materials with inconsistent decay rates, forced the equation to waste processing power correcting microscopic errors. The equation adapted, then adapted again, then slowed. Orly's think minds screamed across encrypted channels. The system is overcorrecting. It is prioritizing irrelevance. Kael'var shouted back, "Stabilize it." "We cannot," came the reply. "The humans are feeding it noise disguised as failure." Within the equation zone, human behavior became even worse. Ships collided. Battles were lost intentionally. Human commanders surrendered planets without resistance. To the Concord it looked like collapse. To humans it was investment. Each loss forced the equation to tighten control. Each tightening reduced its flexibility, until it could no longer adapt at all. Dr. Mara Ilias watched the system metrics with quiet satisfaction. "It's doing exactly what we hoped," she said. Ward raised an eyebrow. "Which is?" "Freezing," Ilias replied. "Perfect systems can't evolve. They can only enforce. And enforcement without adaptation is fragile," Ilias finished. Then the humans changed. Everywhere. At once. Human fleets that had retreated suddenly advanced. Human weapons began firing at unexpected frequencies. Human pilots ignored survival odds and chose impossible maneuvers. The equation tried to respond. It couldn't. Too many deviations. Too much contradiction. Too much human. The anchors began to fail. Not explosively. Quietly. The first anchor collapse went unnoticed, until an entire Concord battle group found its predictions wrong. Human ships appeared where no probability existed. Alien weapons missed. Human shots landed. Panic spread. "This is not possible," a ZYR commander screamed. "We accounted for every variable." A human pilot replied over open channels. "You didn't account for us changing our minds." The Elder Vault spoke again. Its tone was no longer neutral. "Analysis complete. Humans demonstrate nonlinear strategic foresight. They anticipated the final equation. They designed failure as a weapon." The galaxy listened in stunned silence. Kael'var collapsed into his seat. "They plan to lose," he whispered. The Orly's think minds confirmed it. "Yes." Loss created the conditions for victory. The Karn warlord slammed his fist into the floor. "That is madness." "No," Kael'var said softly. "That is humanity." Across human space the truth emerged. The war had never been about defeating the Concord militarily. It was about proving something. That no system, no matter how ancient or powerful, had the right to enforce inevitability on living beings. Humans were not the strongest. They were not the most advanced. But they were the most dangerous. Because they refused to accept the future as fixed. The final equation began to unravel. Not all at once. Piece by piece. As human enclaves coordinated through intuition, shared stories, and trust, not data alone, Concord fleets found themselves fighting ghosts. Every victory dissolved into uncertainty. Every defeat birthed 3 new human strategies. General Ward addressed her commanders. "From here on," she said, "we stop reacting." She looked at the stars, now flickering with returning chaos. "We take control of the ending." An officer hesitated. "What if the galaxy can't handle that much change?" Ward smiled. "Then we'll teach it." The Concord's heart was exposed. The final equation was dying. And the galaxy finally understood the truth. Humans did not conquer by force. They conquered by refusing to be predictable. And the war was entering its final phase. The galaxy had never seen the Elder Vault speak directly to a species. It was not a ruler, not a judge, not even a god, though many worshipped it as one. It was a witness. And now, for the first time since the first architects vanished, it addressed humanity alone. The message arrived everywhere at once. Not as sound. Not as text. As understanding. Every human, soldier, engineer, civilian, felt it like a pressure behind the eyes. "Why do you resist inevitability?" General Elena Ward closed her eyes as the meaning settled in. She answered out loud, though she knew the vault would hear her thoughts just as clearly. Because inevitability never asked our permission. Across Concord space, the final equation collapsed another layer. Anchors flickered. Causality slipped. Probability engines returned nonsense results. Alien fleets hesitated, suddenly unsure of themselves for the first time in their history. The Karn warlord stared at his tactical display in disbelief. Orders no longer resolve, he growled. Every option branches. An Aureli's think mind responded, its normally calm tone fractured. We are experiencing doubt. That word had no precedent in their language. Inside the Elder Vault, ancient systems strained. The vault had been designed to observe civilizations, not engage them. But humanity had forced a paradox. They were weaker, yet stronger. Primitive, yet advanced. Predictable in pattern, yet unpredictable in choice. The vault ran simulations. In every future where humanity was erased, the galaxy became stable and stagnant. In every future where humanity survived, the galaxy became dangerous and alive. You disrupt long-term equilibrium, the vault said. Ward stood on the bridge of her ship, stars blazing behind her. So did fire, she replied. So did language. So did freedom. Pause. Then the vault asked something no one expected. Do you seek dominance? Ward shook her head. No, she said. We seek agency. While the vault questioned, the Concord began to tear itself apart. Client species rebelled openly now, inspired by human resistance. Trade guilds refused Concord authority. Defense fleets hesitated to fire. Some even turned their weapons inward. High strategist Kael'var watched the empire he had devoted his life to crumble. We built order, he whispered. An Aureli's delegate replied softly, you built certainty. Humans built choice. Kael'var looked up. For them, he said slowly, war is not about winning. No, the think mind agreed. It is about refusing to be erased. The Concord made one final attempt. A desperate one. They redirected the last stable anchors of the final equation toward Earth. Not to destroy it. To lock it. To freeze humanity's cradle in perfect causality forever. No change. No growth. No future. When human sensors detected the shift, the command channels went silent. Then General Ward spoke. They're aiming for home, she said. A young officer swallowed. Can we stop it? Ward looked at the data. No, she said honestly. Then she straightened. But we can do something better. She opened a channel. Not to fleets. Not to allies. To the Elder Vault. You're watching us, she said. So watch this. Humans did not defend Earth. They abandoned it. Evacuation protocols older than the war activated. Civilian arcs launched. Archives were transmitted into deep space. Culture, language, memory, scattered beyond any single point. Earth became just another world. No longer a linchpin. The final equation struck. And found nothing to end. The vault recoiled. You sacrificed your origin. Ward's voice was steady. We've done it before, she said. Africa. Mesopotamia. Cities drowned. Empires burned. She met the stars. We carry home with us. The equation destabilized violently. It had been built to control systems that cling to origin points. Humanity did not. The remaining anchors collapsed in cascading failure. Causality snapped back into chaos. Alien fleets reeled as predictions vanished entirely. The Concord's final weapon died, not in fire, but in irrelevance. The Elder Vault fell silent. For a long moment, the galaxy held its breath. Then the Vault spoke again. This time not as a witness, but as a student. Conclusion. Humans represent a novel civilizational state. They adapt faster than control. They value possibility over stability. Pause. Then. Recommendation, do not oppose. High strategist Kael'var lowered himself to the floor. It's over, he said. Not in defeat. In understanding. Human fleets did not press their advantage. They stopped. They offered terms. Not of surrender. Of transformation. The Concord would dissolve. In its place, a galactic commons, no enforced inevitability, no final equations. Only shared rules, renegotiated constantly. Messy. Human. As the war ended, General Ward stood before a gathering of alien leaders. You feared us because we don't make sense, she said. She smiled gently. That's because sense is something you choose, not something you obey. The Karn warlord bowed his head. The Aureli's think minds restructured their cores. The ZYR Dominion dismantled its probability engines. And the galaxy changed. But one final question remained, spoken quietly by the Elder Vault itself. What will you do next? Ward looked out at a future no one could calculate. She answered simply, we'll see. The war did not end with celebration. There were no galaxy-wide parades. No monuments raised overnight. No single moment that history could point to and say this is where it changed. Instead it ended quietly. Like a breath finally released. The Concord chambers stood empty. Their perfect geometry felt wrong without certainty to fill it. Where commands once echoed, now there were conversations, arguments, even laughter. Messy, uneven, alive. Former client species gathered in circles instead of hierarchies. Treaties were written, erased, rewritten. No document was final. No law eternal. At first, the galaxy struggled. Trade slowed. Borders blurred. Disputes flared. Many blamed humanity. They broke what worked, some said. They destroyed order, others claimed. Humans listened, then kept helping anyway. On a rebuilt haven, 3 children, human and alien, played beneath a sky no longer scarred by orbital fire. The cities were different now. Less efficient. More adaptable. General Elena Ward walked through the streets without guards. An old ZYR officer approached her, his movements hesitant. You won, he said. Ward shook her head. No. We survived. That is victory, the ZYR replied. Ward considered that. Not for us, she said. Survival is just the starting line. The Elder Vault watched. Its ancient sensors followed humanity as they dispersed, not clustering power, not claiming dominion, but embedding themselves everywhere. Human engineers helped rebuild alien worlds without demanding control. Human teachers shared knowledge without locking it behind authority. Human artists told stories that made species cry who had never evolved tears. The Vault processed outcomes. Chaos increased. So did innovation. Conflict still existed. So did recovery. The Vault reached a conclusion that would have horrified the first architects. Stability was not the highest good. High strategist Kael'var, no longer a strategist, just a citizen, stood on a balcony overlooking a shared council space. General Ward joined him. You could have ruled, Kael'var said quietly. No force could have stopped you. Ward leaned on the railing. That's why we didn't, she replied. Kael'var looked at her. Why? Because if we ruled, she said, someone else would eventually have to break us. She met his eyes. And we don't want to be the thing that needs breaking. Far from politics, humanity continued doing what it always had. Exploring. But not like before. They no longer searched for perfect worlds or ultimate truths. They searched for interesting problems. On the edge of mapped space, a human scout ship encountered something ancient and vast. A structure older than the Elder Vault itself. The ship sent one message back. Found something that doesn't make sense. The response from Earth's diaspora was immediate. On our way. The Elder Vault made its final decision. It deactivated. Not in failure. In trust. Its last transmission echoed across the galaxy. Observation complete. Control is not wisdom. The future must remain undefined. Then it went silent, becoming just another mystery for curious minds. Humans smiled when they heard that. Mysteries were their favorite kind of problem. Years passed. Then decades. Then centuries. Humanity did not remain dominant because they were strongest. They remained essential because when systems failed, when certainty collapsed, when the galaxy faced the unknown, humans were already comfortable there. They were the ones who asked, what if? The ones who tried, failed, adapted, and tried again. The ones who turned loss into data and fear into fuel. Other species learned. Some slowly. Some painfully. But all eventually understood. A young alien historian recorded a message for future generations. We once believed logic would save us, she said. Then logic nearly ended us. She paused. Humans taught us something different. She looked at a star map filled with branching possibilities. That intelligence is not the ability to predict the future. It is the courage to face one you cannot predict. On a quiet station orbiting no important world at all, an old General Elena Ward watched ships come and go. Human, Zira, Karn, Orelise, dozens more. A child asked her, did you really fight the whole galaxy? Ward smiled. No, she said. We just refused to let it decide who we were. The child thought about that, then ran off to play. The galaxy moved forward. Uneven. Uncertain. Unstoppable. And whenever a system grew too rigid, whenever a power tried to lock the future into a single shape, There was always a human nearby, not to destroy it, but to ask the most dangerous question of all. What if we tried something else? Because when logic failed, human ingenuity didn't replace it. It set it free.